Hello, everyone. The latest thing I've done with my program that simulates playing the game of Sports Illustrated Baseball is adding Sports Illustrated All-Time All-Star Baseball game, which I had when I was a kid. I had the original one that came out around the same time as the 1971 game, which had the colorful team charts because All-Star, All-Time All-Star Baseball also had similar colored charts. So let me show you a little bit about how it works in my program, and then I'll play a game to demonstrate it. So all I need to do is go to my program, hit A, and ATES All-Time All-Star Baseball comes up, Sports Illustrated. Let me show you what the charts look like. And these look like the charts that you got when you bought the game back in 1970-ish. So here's the Yankees chart. Here's the Yankees hitters, which was a pretty imposing group of hitters. Babe Ruth down at the bottom. Look at the home runs on 34, which is a very commonly rolled number. His batting average was 333 against lefties, 366 against righties in this game. They also had Joe DiMaggio, Luke Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. What a team. Bill Dickey and Yogi Berra were their catchers. Here are their pitchers. Oops, pushed the wrong button. Here are their pitchers. Whitey Ford, Lefty Gomez, and others. That being said, I will show you a little bit of information on how I implemented All-Time All-Star Baseball in my game. So my game has 3 modes. You can play one game, you can play a whole season for one team and have the computer manage all the other games and the team that you play, or you could have the computer run a whole season, American League or National League. So everything works the same in this as it does in the other seasons, except when you have to run a whole season, because of course these are all-time all-star teams and there was no season, there was no as played batting orders, there was no pitching lineup. Those kinds of things didn't exist because these are all-star teams across many decades. So what I did was, when I say play a whole season, I play the 1950 game schedule because there was 8 teams then, so that's 154 game schedule. I input into my game 10 different lineups versus a left-handed pitcher and versus a right-handed pitcher for each team. I have every player that's on every team in at least 6 of those 20 lineups, sometimes. And the better players are the Hall of Famers are like in 17, 18, that number of starting lineups they would be in, the best players of all times, up until this game was made, of course. Starting pitchers, I picked out the 4 top pitchers per each team, and they'll be in a 4-man rotation. They'll each start 34 games per season. And then the next 3 pitchers will start 6 games each per season. The relief pitchers will use the same algorithm to determine when a relief pitcher is needed and who to pick, as my other seasons do. The one thing that I had to guess was how often to use each pitcher as a reliever. So the top 4 pitchers who are starting all the games will have a 3% chance of using as a reliever. And then the other pitchers, the other starting pitchers, will have anywhere from 10 to 16% chance of being used as a reliever. And then the relief-only pitchers like Clay Carroll and Roy Face and Lindy McDaniel will relieve more than anyone else. So that's how I set that up. A computer manager uses the same kind of logic to make his decisions here as in the regular game. So before we play a game to demo it, let's see how this game plays out against the lifetime average of some of the players that are in it. So Babe Ruth hit 44 home runs per year. I'm only counting his New York Yankee years. Ty Cobb had a lifetime average of 366. Ted Williams, lifetime average of 344. He hit 29 homers a year. Lou Gehrig, lifetime slugging of 632, and you can see on down the list. So what I'll do is I'll run a season. These are all American League players, and we'll see how they compare. And I've done this a few times, and what I learned is the batting averages are a little bit lower than their averages for a season because they're playing against all the best pitchers. But the home runs are about the same. The pitchers are a little bit not as good in the game because they're pitching against all of the best batters. So their ERAs are a little higher and the number of strikeouts are a little bit lower. And let's look at the average number of games per team because I read something somewhere that said people think that this game generates a lot more runs than it should. And I looked on the internet and it says that the average number of runs per game per team in Major League Baseball history is around 4.5. And if they played 154 games and had 4.5 runs per game, then it would be 693 runs per team per year. I looked at 1950 and the average was 751. So 1950 is a little higher than average, but all these players are not from 1950, so that doesn't really apply. We'll compare the number of runs each team gets, or a couple of the teams get in a whole season, to the 693 number. So with that said, I will go back to my game and I will zero everything out first, all the stats. Now I will tell it to play the whole American League season, which is 616 games, which it just finished. And it used those lineups randomly, and it used that pitching rotation that I made up for the teams, and it used the computer logic, and it followed the schedule of 1950. So that's all done. Let's see who won. Cleveland won, and the Yankees came in second. Chicago White Sox don't hit very well at all. They usually end at the bottom here. And the Yankees usually score the most runs. So let's look at runs for Yankees and we'll look for runs for Chicago White Sox, and we'll compare to that 693 number that should be the average of all over baseball if you played 154 games. So I'll open it up. I'll look at team batting. I'll look at the White Sox first. And you can see the White Sox scored 533 runs. So they were short of the average. And that's because they don't hit a lot of home runs. You can see, the only person on the whole team that hit more than 10 home runs for the season was Bill Melton. The batting average for the team was 233, so that's not super high. So they only scored 533. Let's see if the Yankees was able to meet or exceed the average of 693 per season for a team. And you can see they did. They scored 780 runs in their 154 game season. Their team batting average was 259. They hit a lot of home runs, including Babe Ruth hitting 47, Garrett hitting 38. So they exceeded the average number of runs per season, and the White Sox didn't exceed it. They fell below it. Let's look at my Tigers, just for the heck of it. One last team to look at. Tigers, number 5. Tigers were 679, so they're 20 runs below the average of Major League Baseball history. So I don't think, at least not in my experience, this game doesn't generate a whole lot of extra runs overall across all the teams that you can play with. So let's look at some of the league leaders and compare to those numbers that we saw before. We'll look at batting average first. We'll say 450 minimum at bats. Now let's look back at the averages. So Ty Cobb was 366. Ted Williams 344, and DiMaggio 325. So let's see. There's Ty Cobb 340, so he's not 366. He's lower than that. There's Ted Williams 325 compared to 344, so he's a little lower. And where's Joe DiMaggio? Did he make the top 15? He did. He's 9th, and he batted 289. So he batted less than his average of 325. And actually, there's only 4 batters in the American League that hit over 300. So the batting averages are lower. Let's look at home runs. Home runs, 47 for the year for Babe Ruth. And Babe Ruth average for his career was 44. So he's a little higher than his average. Ted Williams averaged 29 homers a year. So let's see what Ted Williams hit. Where's Ted Williams? He's 8th, and he hit 29. So home runs are pretty close. Ted Williams hit the same number of home runs as he averaged over his career, and Babe Ruth hit 3 more. So what was the other thing I looked at? I looked at slugging. Lou Gehrig's slugging was 632. So let's look at slugging. That is 9. We'll say 450 at bats. Where's Lou Gehrig? He's right up there. He's 587, and his average for his lifetime was 632. So he's lower. So all the slugging averages, all the batting averages are lower than their career. And home runs are about the same. That's my conclusion. Let's look at pitching now. I'll leave batting. I'll go American League pitchers. I'll look at earned run average. I'll say 200 to qualify. So there's my top pitchers. Let's look at the average for lifetime. Ed Walsh was 182. Walter Johnson was 217. So let's see where they are here. Walter Johnson was 227. So he's only a little bit higher. Where's Ed Walsh? Ed Walsh is down at the bottom, 361. And really, we should be comparing batting average against, because the runs let up. This is a mathematical kind of thing, and that's, I think, how the data was driven, probably by Sports Illustrated and definitely by Steve Etzel and Merv Pete. It was all based on batting average against to generate, what a pitcher's card looked like. So there's earned run averages. Walsh is much higher than his real life, and Walter Johnson is just a little bit higher. And then the other thing I looked at was strikeouts. So we look at strikeouts. Let's go to my summary here. For 250 innings pitched of Bob Feller's seasons, he would have struck out 250 strikeouts. Where is he? He struck out 205. He came in second to Rube Waddell of the Philadelphia Athletics. So the pitchers are striking out less and letting up a few more runners. The batters are hitting lower average and lower slugging and hitting about the same number of home runs. The total number of runs is not so far off Major League history. So the good pitching is offsetting good hitting and making the total runs come out about where they would be if it was just a regular season with not all superstar players playing against each other. So that being said, let me play a game and show you how that looks when you play a game in all-time all-star baseball in my program. So I will say I'll play a game against the computer, and I will play the Yankees 6 against the Brooklyn Dodgers. How about that for a World Series rematch? And I'll have the game at Brooklyn because the Ebbets Field is a little more interesting than Yankee Stadium, which has been around and everybody's seen. So I'll pick those two teams. There's their record. Well, I didn't run the National League. Well, I'll go back and do that. I'll go back and I'll run the National League so we have some stats on that. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to have to restart it. No worries. It's easy to restart. And I go here. Now I go National League and I play that whole season. Let's see who won the National League before we play our one game. St. Louis Cardinals won the National League, and the Brooklyn Dodgers came in third. So now let's play our game, computer, against me. Yankees 6 against Dodgers 10. There we go. Now the Dodgers have a win-loss record, and all the players will have stats. So computer will manage the Yankees. I'll be the underdog. Who am I going to start? I don't know how I could not start Sandy Koufax. Look at his line. He's got a lot of automatic outs there. And they picked Waite Hoyt to start. So we'll say yes to that. And there's their lineup. The Yankees have a lineup including DiMaggio, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra. That's a pretty good lineup. So my lineup for this team will be against a right-hander. I'll just pick one of my 10 lineups that I entered. So this will be one of the 10 against right-handed pitching. Let's see if I like this one. Duke Snider's in there. Gil Hodges, Pee Wee Reese, Jim Gilliam, Maury Wells is playing third, Dixie Walker, Zach Wheat. So I'll play with that one. Now here's something that's kind of new in my game. You can see and hear dice rolls, or you can only see them. You can not see or hear them, number 3, or you can actually roll the dice yourself, which I demonstrated in my last video. I will say see and hear. Why not? So here we go. There's Ebbets Field, and this is kind of cool because the older players only have black and white pictures, and the more recent players have color pictures. So you can see Mickey Mantle and Sandy Koufax both played in the 60s, and their pictures are in color. Now, also remember that the top line is the pitcher up there, the colorful line, and the next line below it is the batter against that kind of pitcher. So that's Mickey Mantle against the left-handed pitcher. The statistics that are there, Mickey Mantle 275, 27 home runs, are from the season that I automatically played. So that's not the real stats for the year. That's in this game that I ran. So I can bunt, I can steal, I can hit away, and I will most likely hit away most of the time. So I will say hit away. We roll the dice, and it's a Sandy Koufax, my pitcher, rolls a 24 and gets a walk. So he walks the leadoff man. All those outs, and he has to roll a 24 and make leadoff walk. So Joe McCarthy, the manager of the Yankees, has decided to have Earl Combs, a 303 hitter, bunt. And the bunt logic is just based on, who's at bat, about how many bunts teams do in a regular season. So number 2 batter bunts, the pitcher bunts a lot, the number 8 batter bunts. The power hitters or the leadoff hitter will never bunt in my game unless you're managing it and you tell it to. So here's the bunt. There's the bunt chart of a good bunter, because Earl Combs is a good bunter. He rolls a 36, and you can see down at the bottom it's circled in white. That's a F, which is a pop-out. So Earl Combs does not successfully bunt. Joe DiMaggio comes up. Koufax rolls a 32, which you can see above. It's not anything. It's just a green box, so that means DiMaggio gets to roll. He rolled a 34. He did a sacrifice fly. That brings Babe Ruth up with a runner on and 2 outs. Look, Joe McCarthy has given Mickey Mantle the steal sign. Mickey Mantle, you can see, is a 3 runner. Sports Illustrated Baseball, you're a 0 to a 5. So 3 is pretty fast. So what's going to happen next is it'll roll the dice for Mickey Mantle's steal attempt. The steal chart will pop up on the left side of the screen for a 3 runner. And we roll a 35, and that means he's safe because that's down at the bottom and it's green. Green is safe, red is out. So there's Mickey Mantle at second. And now Babe Ruth will probably hit away. 36 is nothing from Koufax. Babe rolls a 34, and Babe Ruth's 34, very commonly rolled number, is a home run. And that's another thing that I added along with the dice noise. Whenever someone hits a home run, you hear cheering, even though this is an away game. You hear cheering for the away team or the home team. Everybody likes home runs. So here's Tolio Lazario. 16 from Koufax, and a 33 is a flyout. So that's the end of the first inning. Yankees up 2-0. So my Dodgers have to come from behind. Waite Hoyt's 26 is nothing. There's a 25. That's a ground out for Maury Wills. Here comes Jim Gilliam. There's a 13. That's an automatic out based on defense. So let's look at the defense of the Yankees. There they are. DiMaggio's a 12, which is really good. Crissetti's a 6. That's okay for a shortstop. Yogi Berra's an 8. So pretty average defense. I can't... Obviously, it equates to a 13 because that's what we rolled, and that was an automatic out based on defense. 34 is nothing from Waite Hoyt. Gil Hodges pops out. So the Dodgers go quietly in the first. Here we go bottom of the first. There's Yogi Berra. Look at Yogi's picture. Yogi is a funny guy. He pops out because Sandy Koufax rolled the right number. 32 is nothing to Gil McDougall. He grounds out with his 37 roll, and here comes Frankie Crissetti, the shortstop. 37 from Sandy Koufax is nothing, and there's the 35. He pops out. So here we go at the bottom of the second. Duke Snider, superstar Duke Snider. 25, he walks him. Waite Hoyt was afraid of Duke Snider, so he rolled a 25, put him on base. Here's Dixie Walker. Dixie's only hitting .211 with 1 home run, so he didn't play too much this year. 30 to Dixie, and a 27, he hits in the ground out. He double plays it. Here's Zach Wheat, who 251. I'm not sure I like Dixie Walker. There's a 16 from Waite Hoyt. That's an automatic strikeout, so that's the end of the Dodgers. All right, 35 from Koufax is a strikeout. Look at that, 35 and 34 are strikeouts from him, and those are the 2 most commonly rolled numbers. There's another strikeout. There's another 35. Earl Combs comes up. There's a 26. There's a pop-out. So Koufax doesn't even let the darn Yankees roll the dice that inning. 1, 2, 3 automatic outs from the pitcher's side. 27 is nothing to John Roseborough. 24 is a ground out. Here's Pee Wee Reese. That's Jackie Robinson's buddy. Pee Wee Reese grounds out. Here comes Sandy Koufax. There's a 16 from Waite Hoyt. He strikes out. We're going to have to get some of our stars in the game. I don't like that Jackie Robinson is not in this game. There's a ground out. There's a pop out. Here comes Babe Ruth. 31 from Koufax is a pop out. Koufax is starting to shut him down a little bit here. There's a strikeout. At least Lazario gets to roll his own dice. Here's Maury Wills playing third base. I'm going to pinch hit. I'm going to put in, of course, Jackie Robinson for Maury Wills. There's Jackie. Let's see what Waite can do with him. He walks him. So there's Jackie on first base. Jackie is a forerunner, and I'm going to have him steal because he's a forerunner, and he is a very aggressive base runner. And there's the steal chart for a forerunner pops up. He rolls a 33, so he makes it to second base with Jim Gilliam up. Gilliam pops out because Waite rolled a 17. Here comes Gil Hodges, a great hitter. 35 is nothing. Come on, Gil Hodges. There's a single for Gil Hodges with a plus, means runner on second scores. So we got a 2-1 game with Duke Snider coming up. Duke hit 23 home runs in my season here, and he is out because of defensive play based on their defensive rating. Here comes Dixie Walker. Dixie Walker gets a 36 and rolls a 25. He singles up the gap with a star, means the runners advance 2 bases. So there's Duke Snider over at third. Here's Zach Wheat, left-handed hitter against right-handed pitcher Waite. 28 is nothing. And there we go. Zach Wheat hits a single on a roll of 34. Snider comes in to score. Walker goes over to third. John Roseborough comes up, and he pops out. So that ends the inning, but the Dodgers do score 2 runs to tie it up. Yogi Berra, 17 from Koufax is nothing. 34 is a flyout for Yogi. Here comes shortstop Gil McDougall. No, he's not that shortstop. He must be the second baseman. 14. There's an automatic defensive out. So that being said, let's look at the defense of our Dodgers. And we have Pee Wee Reese as a 2. Gil Hodges is an 8. Looks like Roseborough is a 7. So let's look at how all that adds up. That all adds up to a 41, which means a 12 or a 14 is an automatic out for defense. So that's good. 12 or 14. Remember that. 22 is not a 12 or a 14 or anything else. So he gets to roll the dice. Frankie Crosetti rolls a 15 and strikes out. Here we go, bottom of the 5th. Pee Wee Reese leads off. 33 from Hoyt. 34 is a ground out. Here comes pitcher Sandy Koufax. 2-2 game. We'll leave Sandy in the bat. And he strikes out. Here's Jackie Robinson. Let's get Jackie on base again. There's more stealing. He grounds out. 1-2-3 inning. Here we go, top of the 6th. Pitcher Waite leads off. Manager of the Yankees decides to leave Waite in. He's only let up 2 runs and only let up 3 hits, so I guess that's why he did that. 32 is nothing pitch to Mickey Mantle. Mantle also throws a 32 and flies out. Here comes Earl Combs. Earl's 17 from Koufax, and then a 23 is a strikeout. So this game, after the first inning, Sandy Koufax is settled right down. Here Jim Gilliam leads off. 23 from Waite. He grounds out with 33. Here's Gil Hodges. Hodges rolls a 35. No, he doesn't. Waite rolls a 35, which is nothing from Waite. Hodges rolls a 24. Hodges 24 is a home run. So now these Brooklyn Dodgers at home, and playing at Ebbets Field, are ahead 3-2 with Duke Snider coming up. 22 is nothing from Waite. 21 is a strikeout. So Dixie Walker will bat. Let's see who we have in the bench. This is a righty. Who we got? Who we got that can play the outfield? Let's put in Babe Herman. Babe Herman has got a 31 home run, as you can see by his line against lefties. He batted 272 in my season that we just automatically played. So there's a 33 to Babe Herman. Babe Herman rolls a 37 doubles. So there's Babe Herman. Here's Zach Wheat. We'll leave him in. Lefty-righty situation. 14. See what Zach Wheat can do. He gets a 40. And there's a double for Zach Wheat. So now it's a 4-2 game with John Roseborough. Let's bring in All-Star Hall of Famer Roy Campanella. He'll take over catching duties and pinch hit for John Roseborough. There's a 12 from Waite, and a 28 from Campanella is a flyout. So that's the end of the 6th inning, 4-2. Joe DiMaggio leads off. 29 is nothing. A 30 for DiMaggio is a strikeout. You can see that box, the blue box is a strikeout. It's circled in white because that's where the 30 is on his line. Okay, here comes Joe. That's lucky break. 12 or 14 for the Dodgers defense, and it turns out to be a 12. So there was some sort of outstanding fielding play based on a good defense by the Dodgers to get Babe Ruth out. Tony Lazzari. There's a 17 for Tony. Tony rolls a 24, gets a single, 2-out single. Lazzari on first, Yogi Berra coming up. 21 and a 32. Luckily, Yogi Berra did not connect. Lucky for the Dodger fans, at least. Here's Pee Wee Reese. 34 from White Hoyt. White's still in there. Pee Wee rolls a 36 and pops out. Here's Sandy Koufax. I'll leave him in. He's our best pitcher. Even though I want to show you how relief pitching works, Koufax strikes out. I'll do that before the game's over. Jackie Robinson. Come on, Jackie. Get on base. I'll have you run like the Dickens. There he is on first base. He's stealing. There is... Oh, no! There's the line for the 4 stealer. They're not automatically safe because he rolled a 17, which is a hard number to roll, and it's an out because it's red. So poor Jackie Robinson gets thrown out at second by Yogi Berra. 36 is nothing from Koufax. Gil McDougall pops out. Here comes shortstop Frankie Crissetti, batting 182. He walks him. That was dumb. Here's White Hoyt. Now I'm guessing the manager will pinch hit for White Hoyt. Let's see. Yep. Joe McCarthy will pinch it. Now the logic that I use in my program here is the manager will look through everybody on the bench and find the batter with the best game batting average, figuring it out based on his line, his outs and hits line that every player has in this game, and it'll be figuring out against lefties, and it'll pick the one that has the highest batting average, and that happens to be Bob Musial, who batted 241 in our season that just concluded. Bob Musial doesn't even get to swing the bat because Koufax rolled a 26 and popped him out. Here's Mickey Mantle. 34 is a strikeout for Koufax, so that is the end of that. Here we go, bottom of the 8th, Jim Gilliam. Jim Gilliam rolls a 26 and a 27, so he grounds out. Here's Gil Hodges, the first baseman. 21 home runs for him in our season. There's nothing pitched from Ollie Reynolds. Allie Reynolds was, by the way, brought in a relief, White Hoyt, because it pinch hit for him. Gil Hodges singles. There's Gil on first base. He's a 1-runner. He's not going anywhere. 21 from Allie Reynolds. And Duke Snider rolls a 27 and grounds into a double play, inning-ending double play. Okay, let's say Sandy Koufax, even though he's only let up 2 runs and 3 hits, I will show you how relievers work in this game. The Yankees reliever who can't start is Ron Peranowski. The rest of them are starter and reliever, so we'll pick Ron Peranowski to come in. He's a lefty, just like Koufax was. He's going to pitch to Earl Combs. He rolls a 38, which is the pitcher's X for every pitcher. So there's the pitcher's X line over there. So I need to roll the dice again to see what kind of X thing it was. And it turns out to be a 21, which is a wild pitch. Since nobody's on base, it doesn't do anything. Here, Peranowski will roll again, and he rolls another 38. So we roll again for the pitcher's X, and this time a 37 is a pass ball. So let's see if he can avoid rolling a 38. He does. He rolls a 27 and gets Combs out on a ground out. So there's the first out of the 9th inning. Combs doesn't get to swing the bat. Here comes Joe DiMaggio. He gets a 17 and grounds out. Here's Babe Ruth. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. Or top of the 9th, but it's their last chance. And a 22 from Ron Peranowski is a flyout on his chart. So that is the end of the game. Brooklyn wins 4-2. Koufax gets the win. Peranowski gets the save, and White Hoyt gets the loss. And there's the Yankees hitting. They only got 2 hits. Babe Ruth's home run in the first inning with a runner on base. Mickey Mantle was walked, and he scored. So that was the only scoring by the Yankees, who score more runs than anyone else in this game, I think. And here's the Dodgers. Gil Hodges with 3 for 4. Zach Wheat had 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Hodges hit a 2-run homer. Or no, I think he hit a 1-run homer, and he also got an RBI on a single. So there's the 4 runs for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Brooklyn and Los Angeles, that is. Here's the Yankees pitchers. White Hoyt and Allie Reynolds. And here are the Dodgers pitchers. Koufax pitches 8 innings, and Peranowski finished it off with a perfect 9th inning. So that is what the game looks like when you play it. All-time All-Star Baseball. So With that, I will also tell you that in this YouTube comment field, you'll find a link. And if you want to try to play this game on your own computer, if you have a Windows computer, you can go get all the files that you need, download them, and simply run the executable file, which is called SI Baseball, and you can play this game if you'd like to. So that being said, I will wish you all a good day or a good night.